All right, everyone. The nation of Poland is officially against Article 13. Now, population-wise, probably overwhelmingly was anyway, but now the government's stepping in and officially sort of launching its announcement that it doesn't support Article 13. They're saying basically it violates the EU's own constitution. The article itself can't possibly be implemented legally under EU law, let alone even Polish law. I don't know anything about that as far as the legalese goes, but let me point out why I would be against it as a content creator. I'm subject to U.S. law when it comes to copyright. U.S. law and EU law being now totally different on this subject. The problem that I see potentially happening with rules like this, it's like, our Constitution doesn't protect the free speech of Europeans. Be nice if it did, but ultimately it doesn't. You're under a different legal system if you're in Germany or Belgium or wherever. But what could happen is that US-based Silicon Valley firms that I operate on, almost all of them are US sites, could end up deciding to bend over backwards to try to appease Europe with regards to copyright, which would require a great deal of automatic filtering on the internet. It would make the internet overall more expensive to filter through everything. It would make it less efficient. It would make it arguably certainly less free. A lot of material would be subject to the copyright scrutiny simply because of a false claim being made. Currently, there's no provision that allows for any sort of counter notification or lawsuit or anything like that if there's a false claim. So what some disgruntled political hack in Europe could do is attack a bunch of US content and force Silicon Valley to begin blocking it selectively for European states, even if there is no actual copyright breach, even under European law. It will be misused. The fact that it can be misused will lead to it being misused. The other problem is that, let's say, like some of the states in the EU, they say, well, we're going to interpret Article 13 as being fairly laissez-faire. This is basically just bigger organizations, if they're linking news in an aggregate, which was the initial intent that was proposed for Article 13, they'll be responsible for making sure that people get paid for being linked to. Basically, you're hosting content, you're driving traffic, getting Google ads and stuff on a Google News aggregator, therefore Google has to compensate for using that. It's essentially hosting that content and even summaries of it and everything else. Which is kind of screwy because if you're being hosted in the Google search engine or on Google News or something, you're getting more traffic too. You're already being compensated in the form of the fact that you're on fucking Google. But let's leave that alone for a moment. That's the loose interpretation. But they can also interpret it as involving individuals and links posted anywhere else online. The problem is that if one EU state begins doing that, it can be misused and it will have to be adopted as a rule in a de facto sense by all other EU states. Because it's malleable. You should never pass a law like this or a bill or an article or something that is this malleable. That's what doesn't make sense. If it were much more constrained, if this were just about news aggregators and big-time websites, like corporate websites that are linking out to other people's content cross international borders, being subject to some degree of jurisdiction of the EU in regards to that content, or the sites, if they're not willing to subjugate themselves in that way, would be blocked or something. That's not really the problem. That's not the question. The question is for small musical creators, people who post memes, people who use infographics or whatever, like Tim Pool, even posting pictures of news articles could be subject to this under a more strict scrutiny under Article 13. And so basically it could rip the internet apart. The other part is the reason I think why Europe is doing this is right now European websites have to fight with one arm behind their back. The biggest tech sites are almost all American. The reason is because of free speech, free expression, and lower amounts of copyright law threshold. That is, it's easier to post content. It's like, you spread a meme on 4chan, nobody's going to sue you. What the fuck are they going to do? Even if they can uncover who you are, you just posted it on a forum. You're not claiming attribution, you're not making any money off it. Who fucking gives a shit? The fact that it's going viral is largely US-based phenomena. It's not coming from the EU. Europe, therefore, wants to stymie US sites and bring them in line to make their own sites more competitive. They can't allow free speech and reduce copyright law in Europe, so they're trying to increase it in the US. They can't do it under law, but they can pressure the tech sites to do so. The United States government's response to Article 13 should be to shelter U.S. firms and make it clear that they shouldn't bend over for European law at all. No coddling of foreign states with regard. I mean, we wouldn't say, well, we're gonna bend over a little bit and allow Saudi Arabian blasphemy laws to apply, and so we're going to allow them to track people that say mean things about Muhammad. Although there was an app in the Google store for reporting blasphemy or some crazy shit like that a while ago. I think they finally took it down, but it took a while. Yeah, I'm not really surprised. Article 13 is a terrible idea. It's nice to know that there's one EU state that's standing up to it. I'm not surprised it'd be Poland. Poland and Hungary and some of these states, Czech Republic, have been on the forefront of fighting, oddly, for freedom. And the thing is, they're all Europhile states. They overwhelmingly support the idea of an EU. It's just they want a different EU than the one Germany wants. Germany, the Western Europeans, which are more anti-Europe at this point, want a European Union which is heavy-handed and authoritarian. Eastern Europe and Southern Europe seem to want an EU that's more gentle, more laid back, and more unofficial. Like, basically, give some wiggle room. Why are you enforcing all these heavy-handed rules? It doesn't make sense. You're going to destroy the EU by doing this. They're doing this out of a sense of wanting the EU, mainly for economic reasons. Article 13 would be a problem. It would definitely be a problem if U.S. sites just say, oh, okay, well, I guess Europeans can't use Google anymore. I guess no Facebook for Europeans, no Instagram or Twitter. U.S. sites will simply shut you out. You can't use Patreon. You can't use PayPal. It would destroy the fabric of European internet, too. You realize how many plugins and apps and all this shit's developed by U.S. firms that are right now used in European sites. That can be turned off. You wouldn't have any fucking internet. You'd be using, like, text. You'd be going back to the ICQ days at that point. That's basically I think they're owned by Mail.ru. They're owned by Moscow now. So it used to be an AOL subsidiary. I think there's an Israeli company as well involved. Originally, AOL bought it out for massive sums back when it was more popular. Now it's Mail.ru. They had to shut down the web-only feature. But yeah, I'm glad that Poland is staying in. And by the way, I'm still blocked in Poland. My channel is. Maybe some subscribers should lodge a complaint with the Polish government. Get me get my page unblocked in Poland. It'll be important in the future. There's no reason to fight against Euro censorship if there's national censorship to deal with as well. That's about all. Peace out.